Welcome, guys, to the Everyday Educator podcast. We are going to explore what it means to learn alongside our family, just like always. I'm your host today, Lisa Bailey, and I am glad to welcome you to this discussion about mock trial. It is fruit being born, and we're going to see how all of the skills that your students have been sharpening through the years, especially in this Challenge B years, is going to bear a lot of fruit in this activity that many of you are a little skeptical of called mock trial. I've got two great friends here with me today who are going to help us address all our questions and concerns and all of our excitement. So we are glad that you're here with us today. And this is a great online forum, but I want to remind you, as always, that the best place to find community is in a local classical conversations group. So you go to classicalconversations.com and find a community near you today, and you will have people who can answer all your questions, not just questions about mock trial. But we're going to jump into that whole mock trial conversation. Jennifer, Hester, introduce yourself and tell people, why should we listen to you about mock trial today?
Hi, my name is Jennifer, and I work as the lead of program support for Classical Conversations. I am a mom of 3 boys. 2 have graduated out of Challenge 4 and have been through mock trial, so I've done it twice as a parent, once as a director, and once as a juror. So lots of experience in mock trial, and I am currently directing Challenge B, so I am deep in the trenches with all of you that are getting ready to kick it off.
This is great. You have got some really great perspectives. I want to ask you, just before we get introduced to Emma, I want to ask you, did your boys who have been through mock trial already, did they like it?
It's everybody's favorite.
Oh, okay.
Well, maybe not always, but for most of the time when you ask a graduate, like, what was one of your favorite things? It's almost always going to be mock trial.
All right. So, we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a moment, because sometimes how they feel about it before they do it and as they're going through it is different.
Absolutely.
Than it seems in the rearview mirror. And we'll talk about that. Emma Bortins, welcome today. Tell us, why should we listen to what you have to say about mock trial?
Thank you for having me on. I was new to CC at the time of Challenge B. My family just started Classical Conversations. We'd been homeschooling for our whole childhood, but we started in CC when I was in Challenge B. So I had no experience with mock trial, hearing about it, knowing what it was. So I think I bring a very fresh perspective to new families that are coming in right at the Challenge B level.
Absolutely. And that is a very valuable perspective. What do you remember, Emma, the most about Challenge B? And what was your favorite seminar?
Well, definitely mock trial. But I think the most memorable seminar for me was logic, because it was the hardest and it was the thing that I didn't have most experience with in prior curriculums or homeschooling experience.
So were you worried about logic going into it?
I wasn't worried about any of it because I didn't really know what to be worried about, which was nice. So it was all just very much learning by fire. Or baptism through fire, which was, I think, a good thing.
Yeah. So logic was memorable because it was hard. When you got to the end of it, did you feel like you had been beaten with a stick, or did you feel like you had conquered a mountain?
I think I felt more like I had conquered a mountain around Challenge 1, halfway through Challenge 1. It took a little bit of time to have that I just made it over the mountain perspective.
Yeah. That is so exciting. I love to talk to students who have gone beyond Challenge B and then have them look back. I've even asked, because I will be honest, I started my experience with CC as a Challenge B director a long, long time ago. And so I have lots of former students who are quite old now. And I go, and a lot of times when I see them again, they've graduated from college. Some of them have kids. I'll say, what do you remember the most about Challenge B? And it's so interesting having you guys here, because what they remember the most is mock trial, and what they say they used the most as they continued to be students was logic. And so, parents, Challenge B is an awesome formative time for your student. And it's not all play, and it is making a difference for them. Jennifer, what did you think about mock trial before your kids experienced it?
So I didn't know. It scared me. I was scared of it. And I think there's something in every level that I've directed that has scared me, that I thought, oh, I don't know if I can do this thing. Like, and mock trial was that thing for me. I was really nervous about it. Mainly because it's that pinnacle event. And I felt like it was a lot of pressure to make it perfect and make it memorable. And because I was new to directing, I just wasn't sure that I could do it really. And so I remember just thinking, this is this massive thing I have to tackle. And a girl that was directing my son in Challenge A, she said, just take it 1 week at a time. Just take it 1 week at a time, and it's all going to come together. And I thought, okay, I can do that. I can do 1 week at a time. And so I spent the winter break reading through the mock trial notebook just to be familiar with it. And then we just took it 1 week at a time. And I really tried not to think too much ahead. I did not consider who was getting what roles until the week that it was to be assigned. And I think it was like the day before that I sat down and thought, okay, like, what is this going to look like? And honestly, those roles shifted after they were handed out. After some conversations, they shifted, and we had to be okay with that. So I think that what I heard about it was just that it was so exciting and it was going to be so much fun, but it's a lot of work. And that is true, but it is not so much work that it's not doable. If you just follow the schedule, it's great. It was very doable.
Yeah. That's really encouraging that there is a schedule and that it's really calibrated for success for families and for tutors. Yes. That's really good. Emma, you said you came in to CC at the Challenge B level and you really didn't have a lot of preconceived notions. What about the people that you were in community with? Did those other Challenge B students, were they primed for mock trial, or did you have lots of newbies who really didn't know what was coming?
To be honest, I'm not sure how many of them had past CC experience or how much experience they had previously homeschooling. What I did know was my community was very close, and all of them in my class knew each other when I came in. And so that was a bit of a difficulty for me, being the new person in the room, where all of these kids had known each other for a very long time. So that definitely made things a little bit challenging for me.
Yeah. Did mock trial bring y'all together?
It did. In the end, it did. But boy, was it a rocky journey. And mock trial is, yes, very fun. But one of my biggest pieces of advice to students going into Challenge B and parents is to have fun doing it, because I'm not sure if you've experienced this, Jennifer, or even you, Lisa. There is a lot of drama in mock trial. Not only with it being a very difficult thing to do. I mean, it doesn't have to be very difficult, but just with different personalities playing different roles, learning to do prosecution and defense. it
Yes.
just can become very dramatic and a little stressful. And that's what it was for me for a long time until that day of the trial and celebrating afterwards, where I really felt like all of us had become friends, but did not feel like that going through the prep.
That, you know what? I really appreciate your honesty. Um, I, through the years, have had lots of people come up to me, like at practicums. If I was speaking at a practicum, I would have parents come up to me, almost fussing sometimes. Why do you do that mock trial thing with eighth graders? Eighth graders, they're just 13 years old. They don't know what they're doing. They don't have any business doing it. And I would just listen because I know, I remember thinking, what in the world are we doing this with eighth graders for? They have to, that because they have to prepare a case. They
Mhm.
actually read just the case materials, police reports and witness reports, and they have to figure out what's important and how to tell the story and how to interpret the story and how to examine their witnesses to get their story out. It They really are doing all the things that a courtroom attorney would do. And through the years, we've had lots of people who've served as judges, some of whom are actual court judges. And they, at the end of the mock trial experience, they will say things like, I have law school students who have never done anything like this. Um, who coached your teams? Did you have lawyers come in and were like, no, sir, we had homeschool mamas and daddies who coached these kids? And they're like, I'm blown away.
Mhm.
And what we say is, what we've done is provide for them the skills that they need. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. How does Challenge B prepare these 13-year-olds with the skills to run a trial, frontwards and backwards, prosecution and defense? How do they learn that? How do they have the poise to do that? But the other part is what you said that made me laugh, Emma, that there's a lot of drama in mock trial. Well, okay, that frankly is part of why it's so perfect for 13-year-olds, because they love the drama. If you are trying to do this with 15 and 16-year-olds who are beginning to have a sense of their own dignity and they don't want to mess up what they don't know how to do, I think they would be very wooden. 13-year-olds just go for it every day of their lives. And that drama, they live for
Yeah.
drama. And so it's the perfect thing for a group of 13-year-olds to do together. And the more, like you said, the more you can see this as something fun to do with the skills that I've been collecting, the better off your class will be, the more fun they will have. Jennifer, you had students go through mock trial. You'd had your own children go through mock trial before you had to tutor it, right?
No.
Oh, so you shepherded a class through it before you had your own kids go through it?
I did the year before when they were in Challenge A. I was told you should go be a juror, and that was when we
Oh,
were
that's
rotating
perfect. Yep.
trials or cases, and so they said go be a juror, so you've seen it beginning to end, and so I did. So I went and volunteered to be a juror, so I could see the whole thing, and I was like that judge. I was like, oh, you want my kid to do this
To
next
do that?
like, I don't think we're going to get there. We did get there. But I remember thinking the same thing, like, wow, there's a big jump from where these kids are right now in Challenge A to where they're headed. And it was so exciting to see where we were headed. That was a great piece of advice for me to go be a juror.
So would that be your advice? Well, it's probably too late for a Challenge B tutor who's in the middle, who's now beginning the preparation for mock trial. It may be too late, but would that be your best advice for somebody before they jump into tutoring mock trial to go see it?
I think so. I mean, if you have the availability to do that, I think it's really helpful. Like I said, you kind of get the flow of the flow of the trial, the understanding of the different roles, but also the way that the judge interacts with the students, because that's very unpredictable.
True.
And so it was definitely helpful. I think if that's not an option, or like you said, at this point, we're too late, right?
Right.
But there are so many things in which I know we're getting to, but there are so many things in CC Connected that are helpful. So I don't want anyone to feel they're behind the curve because they didn't get to do that, because there are so many helps available for tutors and directors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we are going to, because in a minute, I'm going to want you to go through that slowly. So people who are thinking, I got to write all this down, can write it down and know where to look for the resources that will, in essence, hold their hands through the process. That's going to be really good. What, Jennifer, would be your best advice to a tutor who is trying to prepare his or her students to embrace all that mock trial has to offer?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So one, definitely print, read, highlight, tab. It's not very big for tabbing, but still it's important. The mock trial tutor guide. That is very helpful. That's in the business center. You can just search term mock trial. And
on CC Connected,
on
the
CC
business
Connected
center.
in business. If you just search for mock trial, there's a whole learning pathway. And in there is the mock trial tutor guide. And that's going to give you like a week by week breakdown. It's going to give you the rules, things to consider. There's a blank spaces for you to fill out juror names and planning the event. So it's very helpful. So that I think would be the first place outside of your mock trial notebook would be to go get the tutor guide off of CC Connected, and encourage your parents to do the same in the Learning Center. Same thing. They can search mock trial and there's a parent guide, which is equally as valuable.
I will tell you that in 2004, none of those resources existed. And so we were flying way blinder. And so those are great resources. I'm so glad. What would you encourage? How would you, as a tutor or as a parent, how do you prepare your student to begin? Because this is this is a 15-week procession and progression. So how do you prepare them to start well?
Yeah, I think just follow the guide. The guide is going to take them through reading that mock trial notebook so it doesn't feel so overwhelming. They read it in sections. So I think a common thing, especially if you've had students already go through it, is here's the mock trial notebook, read it. You're going to need it, read it. And that's really not helpful to somebody who's new to it. We forget that our third, fourth, fifth, second child is new. It's new to them. Even if they've seen siblings, this notebook is new to them. And so just really like follow the guide. Don't read ahead. Follow the guide, soak it in for that week, and then move to the next week. I think just the pacing is huge. And we get a lot of questions about different learning challenges, comprehension or dyslexia, and it's a lot of reading. So how do I break this down for my student? And it's really important that as parents, we don't drop out of the strand.
Yes.
It's a tricky balance between helping them, but not helping them, because you're not allowed to really help them develop their plan or develop their character, but you also don't want to just leave them to their own demise. And so, I recommend if there's parents with students who have trouble comprehending or learning or pulling information out, like maybe you go through and highlight either before them or alongside of them and you read it together. But I definitely think this, as all strands are, but this strand in particular is one that you really want to walk alongside of your student. It's hard to catch up at the end when you're trying to learn characters and rules. And so definitely staying with them. If you can, go to their community during that time that they're discussing mock trial and sit in and listen. Don't participate because that gets sticky, but listen and follow along. So when you get home, you can ask follow-up questions.
So much good advice in there, both for the student and for the parent. Thank you, Jennifer. Um, Emma, I'm curious, when you worked on mock trial as a student, what did you do first? Do you remember how did you jump in?
Yeah, well, to Jennifer's point, when she started talking about highlighting, tabbing, making notes, I remember that's where we all started. We had all of our multicolor highlighters and we highlighted the people, we highlighted the dates, and then we worked on, more important information from there with organizing everything in the case that needed to be organized. And I think this is a good reason as to why so many CC students and CC graduates are very literate, because not only do they know how to read and understand what they're reading, they're able to pull out what's important from what they're reading. And really good exercise for that. I can't remember the other part of your question, but the other thing that came in handy for me was that I love to act, and I had been doing
Oh,
theater for like a very long time. And so for me, I kind of saw this as a play opportunity. And so
yes.
memory was very important. So I think that everybody who's gone through Foundations and Essentials, who's really honed in on the memoria, will have a great advantage in mock trial because they'll be able to memorize things faster, easier than maybe I did originally. But that was a really fun thing for me to approach mock trial as like a play.
Oh, that's so good. You brought out two really foundational skills, and thanks for doing that, because you said you need to read and then you need to start organizing your material. So the skill of arranging all of that, you just have so much raw data as a student that you have to manage, and arranging is really important. And then you talked about memorizing, and that is another really huge skill. And those are actually skills, interestingly enough, that our Challenge B students work on during the year. In other strands, they're writing their own short story. So they are working on arranging a story in a believable, easy to follow format. They're used to telling a good story that can be followed by somebody who's not in on it, which is huge for mock trial. They are used to arranging the material in different ways, depending on their audience and depending on how they want to sway their audience, maybe. What are some of the other skills that you remember, Emma, using in mock trial?
Um, I mean, public speaking is a big
Yes.
one. Having multiple presentations and opportunities throughout the year to speak in front of your class and parents, really good way to prepare for mock trial. And then I don't know if all classes have this opportunity, because I think there was a class in our community that didn't get to perform or do their mock trial in an actual courtroom, but we did. And so being in that environment, even though I was surrounded by people I knew, we also did our mock trial with a different class from a different community. So it was just a lot of like new faces and a new environment. Having those public speaking opportunities beforehand was really important, because you can memorize and organize and know your stuff, but if you get a little spooked in a new environment like that, it could all go awry. So
We want to interrupt this show to tell you about Summit Ministries. For the past 60 years, Summit has equipped and supported raising generations to embrace God's truth and champion a biblical worldview. So now more than ever, our children really do need to be winsome and brave in the face of the culture's lives. And your children will be personally mentored at Summit Ministries by the top Christian thinkers and speakers on the big questions, things like abortion, gender identity, ideology, the problem of pain and evil, dating, economics, and God's will for their lives. Have your whole family or your whole challenge class join Summit online for 1 week this summer, or send your older teen to an in-person camp for 2 weeks and a life-changing experience. To find out more, visit summit.org/CC before March 31st for an early bird pricing and get an additional $250 off your in-person conference when you register with the code CC26. We hope you enjoy Summit Ministries. Let's get back to the show.
Yeah, I love it. Challenge B, students are presenting something very often in Challenge B. And so they are working on their elocution skills at finding not just a word, but the right word to convey what they're trying to pass along. And so that's another skill. Jennifer, what are some of the other skills that mock trial needs that Challenge B provides?
Yeah, it's interesting, that question, because we start back to week 16 on Thursday, which I don't know when this will air, so it's in a couple of days. But so I was kind of thinking through asking the kids, as we're thinking about mock trial, where have you seen, preparations come in? So I have started making my own list. And obviously, like exposition, like Emma pointed to, they're going to have to take a lot of information. I even thought all the way back to essentials of keyword outlines and taking information and rewriting it. They have to rewrite those witness statements and being able to organize those thoughts. And as they're working through their testimony, or they're working through as an attorney, what questions to ask, thinking through, just like you would arrange your outline for your exposition, what order, what is the most important thing, and what is the most emotional thing, and what order do those need to go in? And so just kind of even just down to arranging questions. And you, Lisa, brought up short stories. And they learn how to develop a plot, how to develop a setting. And that's part of mock trial. You have to develop, for people who don't have the mock trial notebook, where are we? What is happening? You get into circumstance. What else is happening outside of just this instance? Research and debate in Challenge B. The first semester, they work on creating timelines. And in mock trial, they're going to create a timeline to see where things don't connect. Where is there some misinformation, we'll call it? Where is there a misalignment in facts and things? So they start kind of using those timeline things. And then obviously logic, right? Formal logic. It's the bane of some people's existence working through those books, and other people love it. But in the end, the kids are going to start to see where there are fallacies within witness statements. And that, as a director, also as a parent, is so cool when you have been like maybe butting heads all year, or you've been just grinding teeth to get them through, for them to say, wait, I think this is, this kind of fallacy, or there's a syllogism here. Like they're saying this happened because this other thing happened. Those pieces start to connect like a puzzle. And it's really cool when it all, and honestly, I'll say this too, if you're a new director or a tutor or a new parent, it may not come together until the day of. You may not even realize. You may go into the courtroom that morning thinking, this is Hot Mess Express. We are in for it. And then they just nail it. And it's so beautiful to watch. And you leave there and you're like, tisk, tisk, we did it. Like, regardless of the outcome, you're like, nobody fainted. Everybody made it. And it's really cool. That day of is where you're going to see it all come together. You may not see it beforehand. It's not every day is going to be Disneyland. But the day of is definitely Space Mountain. It is the pinnacle moment.
That is the fruit born. You are so right. I love it when you get into the midst of, maybe it's the dress rehearsal of mock trial, or maybe it is one of the actual trials, when a student, you see this light dawn and they stand up and say, that's your conclusion. That does not follow from the premises you have laid.
Yeah.
And judges kind of do a whiplash, like, okay, you know those words, but you know, you're right. That side of the argument did not connect the dots. And yes, that you did not establish. There are no premises established that lead to that conclusion.
Mhm.
And your opponent recognized it and called you on it. Now, what will you do? And you are absolutely correct to help people see that it may be day of that you I've had parents who have come at the very last and said, I mean, I think this is going to be terrible. I just don't think my child can do it. And I'm like, come out here in the hall where your child can't hear you say that. Because your child can do this and they will do this. The most beautiful part is that they can and they will and they do. And it makes me emotional every time I talk about this. And I've not directed B in years and years. But at the end, the glow on their faces when they realize that they did this hard thing that their parents have never done, that nobody would believe they could do, and they did it, and it was amazing, and they liked it, and they lived to tell about it, and they learned, and their confidence goes up like 50 levels, and it never goes all the way back down.
Yeah.
So I've had parents before say, I think we might opt out of mock trial. And I have said to them, you will be doing a gross injustice to your student if you do not allow them to soar like you have prepared them to soar through what you guys said, through exposition and through logic and through the public speaking. They are ready.
Yeah, I had the same. I had a parent that came to me with her. She's probably going to watch this because her daughter, her youngest, is the same age as Josiah. So they're going through mock trial again. I'm so sorry. I won't name your name. But she came to me and she said, we're not doing it. There's no way she can't do it. And I looked at her and I said, that is not an option for her or for you. She is doing it. And she cried at every dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
She cried but that was everything that we did in class, even just amongst ourselves. And the day of, she was hyperventilating and she was crying, and I grabbed her by the shoulders before, you go in, before they go in, you have to say bye and then they have to get themselves together. I grabbed her by the shoulders and I was like, you are going to do this. You're going to be amazing. Just speak loud enough for me to hear you. And then I turned to the rest of the class and I said, do not let her run away. And she went in and she was, we had her as bailiff on one side and attorney on the other so she could read. And she did phenomenal and she didn't cry. She did great. But as soon as it was over, and I said, it's okay. It's great. You did it and you never have to do it again. And I'm so proud of you. And she said, I will never do that again.
That is so funny. Every student, you've got some students that live for mock trial. Maybe they watch 2 or 3 older siblings go through it. Or my own daughter, who was, I think she figured out that she had seen 64 mock trials before she was in Challenge B, because she'd sat in my classroom for years before she was old enough. And then she had watched all these practices. And so her year, they were gunning for it. Like on day 1, week 1, they wanted to have their roles assigned. And I said, we're not talking about that for another 17 weeks. So, but then my younger daughter, she would have been happy if no one had ever looked at her dead on. And she really didn't want to do it. But she is the one who grew the most because she showed herself that what you said, Jennifer, every week, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do every week. And I'm going to trust that I'm getting the skills. And then at the end, she turned and she said, we did it, Mama, we did it. And it was beautiful. Yeah. It was beautiful. Emma, what would you say if you were going to talk to a Challenge B student? what would be your best tip for them as they work on mock trial?
I mean, I think, not only to work on it with their parent, but to, again, just have fun with it, that it's not the end of the world, that no one actually really died. No one's actually really on trial, but it's a good experience. And when it's all over, they'll have a very fulfilling sense of relief or just a feeling of accomplishment. And so that's what I would tell a challenge B student. And then to the ones that are like super excited about it, I mean, to kind of just maybe curtail their excitement a little bit for those that are apprehensive.
Yeah.
I remember I was very enthusiastic about being the main character. I don't even know, but I think it ruffled some feathers in the class because I really felt like I was the star of that show, to be honest. But we worked together. I was humbled. Maybe my excitement helped rubbed off on some of my other classmates. And so
Yep.
I think just the biggest thing is like, it's not the end of the world. Like we're all going to get through it together. And it was so reassuring for me to have my mom sit with me. And as I was crying and struggling and figuring out how I was going to do this, she said, we're going to learn it together. We are going to learn it together, Emma. I don't know what I'm doing either. We are going to sit here and we're going to figure it out together. And so that was just a really special memory I have with my mom, knowing that I wasn't alone in doing that.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Emma.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best thing. Parents, I hope you heard that. The best thing you can do for your student is to be the lead learner and learn along with them and provide not answers, but support and a shoulder along the way, and somebody to say, well, tell me your ideas. Let me hear your ideas, and to ask good questions. Why do you think that's the most important thing? What else could you say? Like in every situation, a good question is about the best thing you can offer your student as they're getting ready. Okay, so Jennifer, tell us where tutors and parents find their help on CC Connected. What kind of stuff is there? Who can see it? Where do they find it? How can we bookmark it? Give us all the tools.
Okay, so in CC Connected Business, that's for directors. The best thing to do is to go to the search bar and search mock trial. There is a learning path with search mock trial. There'll be a learning path, and you just click on that learning path, and a lot of boxes are going to pop up. And all of those boxes have everything that you need. There's clean copies of exhibits, things that you may want to blow up or print for the day of mock trial. Your mock trial tutor guide is there. That is your gold mine. It's going to give you every piece of mind that you need. So everything that you need for the day of to give to the judges, to give to your jurors, all of that information is in that learning path in the business. Then for parents and tutors and directors, so for both, in CC Connected Learning Center, you would do the same thing. Go to the search bar, make sure you're in Challenge B, go to the search bar and search mock trial, and everything that is for mock trial is going to be listed there. And so you have a parent guide there that will help you as a parent. There's lots and lots of videos. And those are tagged by week, so you can heart all of them, and that will pull up as favorites. And then as you watch them, you unheart them, so you know you've already seen. So that's a little pro tip there on how to know what you've seen and haven't seen, so you don't lose track. But I would encourage parents to watch the videos alongside of your student. It's going to help them to see just a better understanding of cross-examination questions and court procedures and what to expect the day of. So watch it alongside of your student, That is not the same as hitting play and walking away for your student to watch it. It is sitting beside them. They're short. They're a couple of minutes. So before they start diving into the mock trial notebook that day or for that week, just pop on the videos for that week, sit together. Do you have any questions? Okay, let's dive into what we need to accomplish for this week. But everything is there in CC Connected. And then there's also the forums. Parents and directors have separate forums, so you can go. And there's the tag option at the top. If you're searching a tag, you want to keep the words together, like if you were on Instagram or some kind of social media. So mock trial would be together, one word. If you separate them in a tag, you're going to be like, there, she lied. There's nothing here. Those words have to stay together. So your tag is mock trial as one word. And everything that you need will pop up in the forum. And those are things that the academic advisor has gone in and prepared to help you. So it's conversations, there's questions, there's ideas. And it's other parents and directors or tutors are in there as well. So if you get stuck on something as a parent or as a tutor, go to the forum and hit the green plus button in the bottom right corner and ask a question. The academic advisors will know that it pops up for us so we can see it. But also that's your community. That's your community of other tutors that are in the trenches with you or other parents that are walking through this as well. And so really the forum is your CC social media. It's where you go to connect with community and cry and laugh and ask questions and all of those things with people who are going through it with you, because your friends and family, they will not understand, but your community does.
Right.
And then you can always email directly to the academic advisor. So if it's something you don't want to ask, we get a lot of questions about how to create teams or how to support certain students. So if you have a question that you don't want to publicize for everybody to see or comment on, you can email the academic advisor directly at challengeb@classicalconversations.com, and that will be a direct message to the academic advisor.
Wow. There are so many resources. I think that you guys have provided a lot of assurance to parents and tutors and directors that this can be a redeeming and an edifying and a lot of fun, and that they're not inventing the wheel. There are lots of helps out there. So much help that will help you to enjoy this and make it a memorable, in a good way, activity for your family. All right, last question for each of you. I want to give you a chance to share the most memorable or funniest mock trial story or memory. Okay, funniest or most memorable mock trial memory. I will start because I knew that this question was going to happen. One year back a long time ago, there weren't as many classes. There weren't so many challenge. Okay, I will out myself totally. There were 4 challenge Bs anywhere when I started. And so in order for classes to have lots of opportunities to do the trial, because once you spend 15 weeks doing this, almost to a man, the kids want to do it again. It's like, I didn't do all this, and now I found the adrenaline rush. And so we used to, it was almost like a round robin that we kept doing it. And so we kept competing. And so a class might do the trial 2 or 3 times until they got all the way to the end. And we one year had, I can't remember how many teams, but at the end, the team that was going to quote unquote win it all, or go all the way to the end undefeated, had to do the trial 3 times. And the judge that we had been following all this, and so he had kind of, and his name was Judge Justice. I'm not even making it up. He knew these kids, and every time they do it, they get better because they see the other team has asked them questions maybe they never thought about before, and they had to think on their feet. And so they have seen lots of different options for things to go right or wrong. And so they've gotten better and better. And so we actually had a judge, because we had given them the judge's packet that said, they don't know how to do this. We don't have time to do this. Please don't ask them about this. And he just said, by this point, I'm throwing it out. I'm asking them whatever they want to. And Jennifer's right. Once the trial starts, the tutor, you don't even want to make eye contact with your kids. And so you can't say anything. Nobody can say anything. Those 13-year-olds are on their own. And so he said, I'm throwing everything with them, and we're just going to see how they deal with it. And so he was asking them for all of these. He would say, okay, objection on what grounds? No, that doesn't work. What else have you got? And they were just like, but they got better and better and better. And at the end, he congratulated them, and he said, I was trying to trip you up, and you stood up under it. I hope some of you go to law school and I see you in my courtroom.
That's so cool.
It was very cool. They felt like they had accomplished something. So, Emma, what's your most memorable or funniest mock trial story?
Well, my most memorable and funniest story, I'll try to make it short, but I had the Barbara Barrett case. I don't know if that's the case or, okay. So I was Barbara Barrett, and I had just delivered my statement, and I was crying, and the judge is tearing up, and people are handing each other tissues. And then it was the prosecution's turn. And I'm not sure if you remember Lisa, but Lynn Dotto, she was an old sales manager.
Oh, yes. I know Lynn.
Her son, Joe, was the lead prosecutor, and he walked up in front of me. He was all calm and collected. He started asking me questions, and I thought I knew my witness statement front and back. I knew the case open, closed.
Yes.
Like, I could have lived that case. And he started asking me questions. I was thinking in my head, if I answered them, I would surely be like indicting myself because he was asking me questions about like how I felt or like heating up. Did I feel a certain way? And I did not know how to respond. So I just said, that's not in my witness statement. And that seemed to go over pretty well. Well, then it continued, and there were other things that he asked me that was in the case that I just did not remember. And I was like, well, I have one excuse, and it seems to be working. I probably said that's not in my witness statement like over 15 times.
Oh, my word.
When we watched it back, it was so bad. It was so bad. And everybody gave me trouble for it. But I don't think I can't remember. I'm pretty sure at the end of the day, I was not found guilty. I think it was like a hung jury or something. But that was my most funniest, memorable moment of the mock trial. And everybody that knows me from that time, they say to me that wasn't in my witness statement. So.
That's so funny. Well, you were bound to be remembered either for your crying jags or for that tagline.
Well,
I remember
I worked so hard and no one remembered me for that.
Well, we had a girl who actually reminds me a good bit of you, and she was Barbara Barrett, and she was such a good crier, and she could cry like on cue. She was so good at it that the judge at one point got tickled and had to turn his chair around. You could see his shoulders going like this because she was just like, you thought, okay, this woman has lost her husband. She can't possibly be guilty. But she was playing it so over the top that even the judge got tickled. So, Jennifer, what is your funniest mock trial story or most memorable moment?
Okay. Can I tell two if they're short?
Yes.
Okay. So like I said, you have no idea what the judge is going to do. It's very unpredictable. So same, we had given them everything that they needed. He said he has done several mock trials. Like we thought we were in good hands until we weren't. And no, he was great, but he treated it like it was an actual trial. So same thing as what happened to Emma. My son was in the Barbara Barrett. He was the detective or the cop. I can't. He was dressed as a
C.M.
cop.
Cheney.
Yes,
C.M.
yes,
Cheney.
yes,
Yep.
C.M. Cheney. So they asked him, "What did you do when you got back to the station?" Which was not in his witness statement.
Right.
And Christian said, "That's not in my witness statement." And the judge goes, "What do you mean that's not in your witness statement?" And Christian, and I was like, "Oh no." And my son Christian says, it's not in my witness statement, therefore I can't answer the question. He goes, "What do you mean you can't answer the question? What is this? You're a cop. You should know what happened when you went back to the station." And you can't correct them, right? You can't correct the judge. And so Christian stops. I'm internally dying. But at the time, he was very into watching CSI, Crime Scene. So he pauses and he says, okay, well, I went back to the station, and he proceeds to recite the CSI that we had watched a couple of nights. But he just reverberated all of this information that I had no idea was in. And the other kid from the other team was like, okay. No more questions. But it was this moment where I was like, you have to be prepared
for anything
because you just don't know. And I was really glad it was Christian and not somebody else, because it could have completely thrown somebody off. He just rolled with it and made it work. It was very funny. And then I think my most memorable, after we finished that case, this was up in Maryland, and we went to this ice cream shop. I didn't really think anything of it. We went and got ice cream. It was this milkshake. I swear it was this big.
Oh, my word.
And, all the kids ate it and were drinking. This pre-COVID. We were all drinking out of the same shop. And it was just really fun. And like Emma was saying, it's the after party. You're just all that adrenaline is done.
Yes.
And we just laughed and we had a lot of fun. Well, a couple of months ago, I went to a funeral for my other son's best friend. And at the funeral, one of my older son's classmates was there. And he came to me. I have not seen him since Challenge B. Okay, they're 22 now. He came to me and he said, "Miss Jennifer, do you know what I think about all the time? That milkshake. That milkshake was so good after mock trial." And he's 6'7". So I just gave him the biggest hug. And then this past weekend, I was in Maryland with my son who just got married, and his new mother-in-law said, "We were walking downtown and Christian stopped and he said, 'I've been there. We went there after a mock trial and we got this big old milkshake. We all shared as a class.'" And I thought, they all remember the milkshake. So go do something really fun when it's over. Just something totally out of the ordinary, really fun to celebrate with your class, because they will remember many, many years later.
They do remember. My daughter, the one that was fairly obsessed with mock trial, she for years would email me and on December 18th and ask me, "Do you know what happened on December 18th?" And I'm like, no, what? We have no family, nobody's birthday. It's when Barbara Barrett was supposedly was accused of this crime. And I'm like, you were and she was in college. You were way too invested in this. But here's the bottom line. Your students are going to make memories, and parents, directors, tutors, there is fruit being born from all of the assignments, all of the discussions, all of the wrestling and wrangling you do in Challenge B bears fruit in that mock trial.
Yeah.
And so don't lose hope and have fun. Ladies, thank you so much. This has been a riot. I loved your stories. I loved your tips. I think that you have provided valuable information for our families. So y'all, that's a wrap. We thank you, all the listeners, for joining us today. It's just a joy to walk alongside this vibrant community, and to link arms and to do it together. We hope that you have been as blessed by this podcast as we have been, and we hope that you will pass it on. So whatever platform you find your podcasts on, pass it on to a friend, pass it on to a fellow Challenge Beer or to a Challenge A family who's looking ahead. And don't forget to drop us a line and let us know how you enjoyed the episode, how it helped you, and what you would like to learn about next. So until next time, you go keep learning, keep loving, keep living out community at home and in your local group. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.